Cut it back.
I can't.
Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pastor Jardula is here.
And I'm the eternally annoyed Fiorella.
As a week cropped, I feel there's too much in my stomach, and I have not been eating my yogurt. I've been cheating, having a lot of oatmeal and nuts, and I'm No, I don't want you to just pan it upwards. There's too much room from our head. Anyways, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. It was nice to see some of you this morning on the morning show that have already jumped into the stream. Of course, guess fam, who's the first one in? Take a guess into the Rockfin stream. Take a guess.
Trey Wright.
Hey! Trey's got his fan club here in the house. Trey Wright is the first to jump on in. He says, love you all. You're all shining beams of light in a very dark, grim, dirty, disgusting, smelly, stinky, poo-poo, cocky world. Thank you very much, Trey Wright. And also, Cam Schwari Kate. Memories, fam. Cam Schwari Kate's been around since the break of dawn. Check out Bruce Main's question about vids being re-uploaded in the last 17 hours. We will check that out, Cam Schwari Kate. Fam, I am so surprised that we are, like, even on YouTube today, there are almost 72 people right now. Guys, share it out there, fam. They are censoring everybody like crazy over the weekend. Artizzle. RT, real time, real talk, whatever. My mom called me. She's like, I can't believe it. Channel 321. They took it off the air. This is bullshit. And my mom, a Trumper, conservative person who watches it, says this is even ridiculous.
Well, that happened like last week, but this week it was taken off completely off of YouTube.
You're right. My bad. Sorry.
So YouTube everywhere, not just like the West, but it was taken off everywhere, is what I read. Which is complete. It would be like us getting completely canceled, like, and taken off, which is a potential possibility. If you're doing anything worthwhile, it's expected. You should prepare for it. You should have other avenues of backup. You should be on Odyssey. You should try to be on these other perhaps Rumble. I've heard they're censoring there too, but I don't know. But Rockfin especially has been really great. We need to continue. Diversifying our content as much as possible, because it's bound to happen, guys. If they can do this to a network, RT's a network, in spite of it being more on the Eastern independent side, it's definitely a network, and they have a lot more, power than a channel like ours, or a lot of people out there who have, independent journalists or content creators. So like, if they can do it to them, they can certainly do it to you. So always have that in the back of your mind. Any day now, right?
It's scary times, and you're right. Rumble's still kind of down the Peter Thiel rabbit hole, so it's not really there. Yeah, and that's the thing too. I was speaking to one of the CEOs of a company the other day, and we were talking about open source. He goes, "I really don't even think there's such thing as open source anymore, because it doesn't make a difference. They control the means of satellites and all that stuff and our communications. At the end of the day, fam, they could shut it down, and they're doing it. They're doubling down right now. It's crazy." Because at the end of the day, we've said this on the Convo Couch, it's not up for the government to decide what is a truth and what is a lie. It's for me and you, ladies and gentlemen, for us over here, for you over there. You make a decision. You don't like it, turn it off. And unless you're inciting violence, like Lindsey Graham, then you should be okay to be, stay on there. And it's kind of funny how Facebook and Twitter and all these other people are allowing Lindsey Graham to call for the assassination of a world leader and not even take him down.
They're allowing the calls against Russians in general, which should tell you a lot. Yeah. And speaking of that, this is our last show in the studio, fam.
Oh, should we make that announcement right now?
What announcement?
The announcement that this is our last show in the studio.
It's the last show in the studio. We will continue doing the show, but
hold on. Maybe I should go upstairs and get Leo and Squeaker. Beep, 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 beep.
Leo?
Not Leo.
Pedro.
Leo, Lucky Burrito's dog. Thank you, Lucky Burrito, for all that beautiful stuff.
Oh my gosh, Lucky.
Julian
I loved
Magnets.
It. Yes.
Oh,
it was beautiful. The hands, they're like the hands of.
I know. Fuck. Julian Assange. It sucks. But this is the last show in the studio. And, we made the announcement this morning. Steve and I are heading up on the Vegas with Gomez, and we're going to start doing that morning show. So I'm going to try to be take it myself. I've been a night person my whole life, fam. In the restaurant business, late nights, you know me, pasta, rockin' style, 2 o'clock.
Nobody told you to start a show at 7 a.m.
I told me, and I want to do it, and I want to know what it's like. I've lived most of my life a night owl. I want to live the rest of my life early morning. I want to wake up and drink tea and eat crumpets with the queen at the break of dawn. Glory, it makes sense. Don't try to question it.
The queen is not a morning show type of guest. I'm so sorry. So Pasta's replacing me with Steve is basically what really?
Just and Gloria's over there saying, I'm replacing her.
Gloria's replaced. So Gloria and I are just going to go do our own shit.
We are still doing the Convo Couch Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at our times. And
we're probably going to add another day, actually.
Probably. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
There's
if he has the time, we'll see. To be continued.
To be continued.
But the Convo Couch will still be rocking it almost 5 years strong, fam. We started this in
well, we started on Facebook only for the longest time, and then we went on YouTube.
Yes, YouTube.
And then Rockford. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. We have a lot of shit to talk about.
No more crying, no more sentimental values. You don't want to talk about some of our best moments?
No.
One of our funnest times.
Well, we should have done something.
Remember when we did the Star Wars episode and I wore Princess Leia's hair?
Yes.
Remember when we wore matching outfits one day? Like we showed up for pictures and I wore this like green shirt with and she wore a green dress and we were like, okay, that's it. From now on, we call each other in the mornings to make sure we're not wearing the same fucking shit. That was in the very beginning. That was the fun times. And the game shows. You suck. Remember when we did Glory Jones' first appearance at the Angry Bird by the LA? When she got on it. And what did she say? That Tulsi needs to pay attention to the global South regime change. And boy, did she hit it on the nose, because I was in Nicaragua screaming my ass off. I was just yelling at the ocean for fucking Tulsi to say something. She didn't. So thanks to Glory, back in the days, old school. So many great memories when we were Bernie people. We went out in the Bernie thing.
Was on that couch, me, Sleepy, and Steve in person.
Aw.
Yeah.
I remember that. That's so sweet. So many great memories, but they're not stopping. They're going on. They're just won't be with this green screen and this little 11 by 11 studio I built. Excuse me. And I'm not even a handyman guy. I'm more of a kitchen guy. So this was a big thing, but it was fun. We created some memories. It's nuts that we're here. It's nuts that you guys kept us going the whole time. We haven't had one sponsor. We haven't had one corporate.
One corporate
sponsor.
We've had plenty of people.
We've had individual people like yourselves sponsor us, and that means the world to us that we can continue to do this, and we're going to keep on rocking on the free world. And remember, anytime you give a Super 8 contribution, it is always appreciated on the couch.
Jesus, we have a show to get through.
Bro, we had to.
Oh,
yes.
God.
High five, nice.
Yes.
She's not going to be my wife. No, sorry.
What?
That's the Ali G way. He's like, she's going to be my wife. Nice.
I think people can assess that won't be happening.
Let's take a look at Fiorella. She is #1 news person in all of Pasadena. Go ahead.
What the fuck? Okay.
All right.
So unfortunately,
Classes today.
Glory is here. There was bad news. There was bad news all around. I mean, this morning there was an attack on Donetsk, and the news was completely ignoring it. So Twitter had to break it first. And on top of that, of course, there was literally, as of a few hours ago, the UK Supreme Court refused permission to appeal the Julian Assange extradition. The case, of course, is now moving to Home Secretary, UK Home Secretary Priti Patel, who is not somebody you want to be making this decision. And she's supposed to authorize the extradition. So I just wanted to make that announcement since it just broke. We're not going to go into it today, but we want to have other people on to discuss it, of course, as usual.
We asked Glory what the opportunities we will have as free-thinking people that we can root on for Julian to maybe get a win in the situation. We asked if the UK Home Secretary Priti Patel could not authorize it, and Glory said yes, she could not authorize it, but then had some choice words for her, and so don't count on that. She will probably authorize this extradition. So
she could choose not to sign it, but she's also a massive cunt.
Okay.
I went the long way around, so we didn't have to use those "see you next Tuesday" words. There is another like humanity court, right? A European court. We're going to get into all this stuff as much as we can. So there is a Hail Mary chance left that it won't happen. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know who else is going to be on it, but me and Misty are going to be doing a free Assange vigil over on Action for Assange tonight at 8 p.m. East Coast time, 5 p.m. West Coast time.
All right. So if you guys didn't hear that, Action for Assange, Misty, Glory, and a few others are going to be doing an emergency vigil tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 Pacific. So tune in because they're going to break down everything.
Bring your tissues. They'll
today.
Be really pissed off.
I mean, it's just sucks. In addition to everything else that's going on. Yeah. So, okay.
So we got Julian locked up.
There's just, I mean, if there's a moment to really understand why he's locked up, it is this moment right now that we're in this proxy war, propaganda bullshit. Every fucking day there is something more ridiculous that happens, and I don't even have time or literally time or energy to put every single thing that we have to go over every single day. There's so many things that are happening constantly. Oh, and by the way, the exact dates for the No More Wars and the event in DC, so I can.
April 10th is the End the Damn Wars protest, and April 11th marks 3 years since Julian Assange was dragged out of the Ecuadorian embassy following a literal bribe from the IMF to Ecuadorian fuckface Lenny Moreno, and the 11th marks 3 years since that date. So
You'll be there.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact location of the protest or time, but April 11th is going to be 3 years since Julian's in Belmarsh, so
Yeah.
protest in DC.
Okay, so protest in DC, April 11th for the 3-year mark of Julian being in Belmarsh, and the day before, No More Wars, which is both of those right now are so relevant. Yeah. All right, so let's get started with this first section.
Yeah.
I don't know how to.
I was saying, while we're keeping Julian Assange locked up for exposing crimes against humanity,
Yeah.
The mainstream media, instead of yelling and screaming as they should, fighting for another journalist, instead they're trying to rehabilitate Hitler. That's the establishment left media. Yeah, I mean, this is an actual fucking thing, fam. To make Putin more awful than Thanos, they are rehabilitating Hitler.
And it shouldn't be a surprise considering they've rehabilitated a warmonger after warmonger, giving them medals after their warmongering ways. So Hitler, I mean, if Hitler were here today, if he were alive, he would be sitting next to Michelle Obama, George Bush, George W. Bush, and they would all be having dinner together.
Yep.
Because they would literally, like, if he were alive, they would be like, you know what? Hitler did some bad things, but he's definitely not as bad as Putin. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. And it's crazy that we even have to talk about this, but here are some examples of the lunacy that has been said on Twitter. This is Pavel Mayer. Hitler did not use his office to extract bribes and get into bed with organized crime. So we could say that in the terms of civic values, Hitler was even a more decent person than Putin is, as crazy as it sounds.
Sounds crazy to me, fam.
This is Anders Aslund. He said Hitler recognized Poland but called for concessions. Putin absurdly claims that Ukraine is not a state. Hitler had left the League of Nations. Putin violates every international law there is. Hitler did not use chemical weapons. Putin is preparing to do so.
Preparing.
I'm sorry, what the fuck was Auschwitz then? Or
The gas chambers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They weren't chemical weapons. They were like, I don't know, Glory. You're good. Your guess is good as mine. This shit is really happening in real time,
I mean,
ladies and
we
gentlemen.
have to laugh,
Literally, this shit is fucking nuts.
but
Yeah,
it is
what
nuts.
You're gonna see a wave of people that when they try to hold this bullshit about false flags in Ukraine, they're gonna be like, looks like Putin went full Assad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're
Yeah.
already doing it. But
Bring 'em up.
it is like Syria in terms of the false bullshit that they're putting. So what stage is the U.S. empire at right now where they're trying to dismiss the neo-Nazi threat? They've been trying to do this the whole time since this whole thing started. And of course, they're whitewashing all of Hitler's crimes against humanity, pretending imagine if we did this before, like anytime for instance, the Palestinians, right, fought back against Israel, they would say, oh, how dare this anti-Semitic. But now when it comes down to like rehabilitating Hitler for Ukraine, it's okay. Just another, comparison there. And so Putin and Russia at this moment are fighting against majorly now whatever's left of the Ukrainian battalion. And we're going to go into that a little bit later, but it's neo-Nazis. So it's fucking crazy to me that this is happening. And by the way, even Wikipedia admits that Hitler most definitely used chemical attacks. Okay. And it was Zyklon B, and even Wikipedia has it right there. It says was the trade name of cyanide-based pesticide invented in Germany in the early 1920s, consisted of hydrogen cyanide, prussic acid, as well as the cautionary eye irritant, and one of the several adsorbents such as diatomaceous earth. The product is notorious for its use by Nazi Germany during the Holocaust to murder approximately 1.1 million people in gas chambers. Okay, installed in Auschwitz, as Gloria said, and other extermination camps. 6 million Jews were murdered during the Holocaust. So they can just blatantly lie.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And how many millions of Russians were killed during World War II?
100 million.
Well, it's 40 million is the total. I think that they're saying over the last 100 years, there was like 100 million people, Russians that have been killed in both wars and something like it's ridiculous. I don't know, but people try to say that Stalin killed 60 million at the lie. And
Stalin shouldn't even come into play now.
That's what I was just about to say, that I've had friends and several friends, and I'm not picking on one friend in particular. I've had several friends, and even some of these lawmakers kind of like bring Stalin into play. Like this is this like kind of master plan of Putin to bring back the old Soviet Union. So his imperialist mindset, now that Russia's back on its feet, supposedly, that's what he's looking to do. I just am saying, why now? What's going on now? There's a lot more to this. If you understand what's going on in the Ukraine, you shouldn't have to justify what Putin's doing, but you should certainly expect it. It's on his fucking border. Neo-Nazis, nuclear weapons, biolabs, the whole 9 yards, fam. This is like so stupid to think that Putin's just going to sit there. Can you imagine if it was on our southern or northern border?
It would. We know. So okay. So first of all, I got to read this. So the Maddow blog, Rachel Maddow's little bullshit, tweeted, one difference between Putin and Hitler is that Hitler didn't kill ethnic Germans. German-speaking people, Putin slaughters the very people he said he has come to liberate.
Which is just a lie. It's a lie.
Yeah, Putin slaughters the very people he said he has come to liberate. Okay, so then they deleted this video, and we're going to show the deleted video. But they said the historical record is clear. Hitler killed millions of Germans. We tweeted out part of an inaccurate statement made last night by former Ambassador Michael McFaul without attribution, and we regret doing so. We have since removed the tweet. He still has his job, doesn't he?
You know what? I don't watch MSNBC enough to do so to understand.
They're probably
but
just not going to call him back for a while, but I'm pretty sure.
The thing that's really a shame, fam, when it comes to RT is RT was actually just going out to the field on the ground, showing you what's going. They were there. They were showing these videos about what would happen in Donetsk and Luhansk, which, the mainstream media, none of the alphabet soup guys even covered or put in their Google stuff whatsoever. So the fact that RT is going out there and letting you see what's happening, it's just some amazing journalism, but that's another reason for the high censorship. They don't want you, the people, to see stuff. They don't want you to know that we funded neo-Nazis. I say the United States funded neo-Nazis. They don't want you to know the people in Donetsk and Luhansk got bombed, children, old grandmas living in their cellars in fear for 8 years by those neo-Nazis from weapons we supported. They don't want you to know what's going on right now. They want you to think that Kiev is having sirens and having bombs all the time. It's not. Putin is not taking territory. He is doing military exercises to get rid of to denazify the place and to take their weaponry out. He's not going to have a hostile anti-Russian government propped up by the West with biolabs on his border, guys. It's stupid to think so.
So let's just play the video where this man, McFaul, does this. And
fam, look at his face. He looks like a friggin' one of those people from the Lost freaking, what do you call that? The Dark Crystal.
Okay.
And I want to just say one other thing. I was just on Ukrainian television just 30 minutes ago. Brave journalists, just like our team covering the war there in Kiev. And one of the commentators said something interesting about how horrific this war is. And remember, these are people who suffered under fascism, that fought the Nazis. As the Nazis came and then the Red Army came back through. One of the Russian journalists said, there's one difference between Hitler when he was coming in and Putin. Hitler didn't kill ethnic Germans. He didn't kill German-speaking people. That's I think people need to remember that when we're talking about cities like Kharkiv and Mariupol and Kiev, there are large populations there. Up to a third and sometimes as much to a half that are Russian speakers and are ethnic Russians. And yet Putin doesn't seem to care about that. He slaughters the very people he said he has come to liberate.
Fam, that is such a lie, too, on top of things. It's just these people in Donetsk and Luhansk from the get-go were begging They were begging for Putin to get involved.
If anything, they were mad that he didn't get involved.
Exactly.
Sooner.
They would do protests with Russian flags all the time. They wanted to be a part of Russia in those borders. They love going in and out of the Russian towns back with their families, whatnot. They spoke Russian, and it's just disgusting that he's making up these lies.
Just make it up.
Like Matt Dust. That's when Putin invaded. Putin didn't invade shit. We invaded because we put up a puppet government.
It's crazy to me, the massive hysterical propaganda that's happening, because we're going to be seeing when I go over the TikTok influencers section, because they basically all repeat the same exact words. And it's propaganda because they repeat it without any sort of historical fact, because you can go back and you can even see, and I didn't even get a chance to put this in, the mainstream media coverage pre this conflict about the white nationalists, the actual neo-Nazis, the Banderite fascists. Constantly, mainstream media was talking about them. The moment we decided to back, obviously, with NATO and Ukraine and this conflict, that entire media conglomerate of talking about these Banderite fascists changed completely.
Yeah.
It completely changed.
Vice, right? They talked about these Banderite fascists all the time. As soon as the State Department said, no more of that, they got in line. You know who your media is, and you know who it ain't now, right now. You know who your propagandists are, and you know who the people who are going to give you the truth are. You know it now, because this should be a fucking layup as far as calling bullshit. And fam, you're going to pay more gas. It's Putin's fault. Everything is Putin's fault. I can see Biden giving a press conference. There was a hurricane in Florida, and I called Putin directly and let him know we will not tolerate this.
You got to squint your eyes more when you do it. There you go.
There was an earthquake in California, and I immediately picked up the phone and let Putin know we will not stand for this aggression. They are blaming everything on Putin. The question is, ladies and gentlemen, will you fall for it, or will you call bullshit?
I think it's time to call bullshit, even if you fell for it already. And I think a lot of people are realizing that.
Sorry, my bad.
So I think we should just hop into the next session and do Super Raise after. Or what do you think?
Let's see how many there are right now. Well, there's 73 people. There's let me just do two Super Raise really quick. I'll get rid of them really quick.
Don't get rid of them.
Well, there's 3 of them, actually.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of them. Let's do this section, and we'll come back, guys, to the Super Raise.
We'll come back to the Super
Bear
Raise.
with us, but do us a favor right now. Like, share, subscribe.
Hit the bell.
Hit the bell.
Even though I know they're not going to notify you, because no, they don't.
I'm going to say a movie here, fam. Let's see how good. Let's see if you can get this one. I bet you will. You won't, though. Ladies and gentlemen, you get this out there, and I'll send you something nice. Okay. Concentrate. How can we concentrate if they keep on ringing that fucking bell? Yeah, and if they're the Cougars, how come they got a goat?
I have no idea.
Of course you don't. It's Wildcats with Goldie Hawn.
Okay, definitely. I've never seen that.
Okay. Oz has. That's all that matters.
Well, I'm sure Oz has seen it for several reasons, including Goldie Hawn. Okay, breaking, guys, and I'm not smiling because this is terrible. I'm smiling because of pasta, but this happened this morning, and I was just doing a deep dive on a lot of things, going over like so much of this folder, which takes a lot of fucking time. And all of a sudden, I was up early in the wee hours of this morning. And Twitter started going crazy. Well, if you follow certain accounts, and one account messaged me a video, and I had to verify that because it sounded crazy. They said Donetsk was just bombed by Ukrainians, and they were specifically targeting civilians. And when somebody tells you that, you're like, wait a minute, like I have to verify this. I can't go saying things like that. And so I started going into the Russian threads, because there was nothing, not even RT had it, because this was really early, like 4 a.m. or something. And then eventually I verified it, and it was all true with the not just the Ministry of Defense, but the lead guy in Donetsk. And it's disgusting. The videos, I will warn you, are very, very graphic. Very, very graphic, but I think people need to see this, because constantly we're hearing that Russians are killing civilians purposely, right? By the Ukrainian media, the Western media, all of that. And it's not even all of the Ukrainian media. It's like the mainstream media. But they never provide any evidence. They never provide any actual evidence. They most usually just do a sort of like pictures. And a lot of people have discovered a lot of that is staged, and a lot of that is we're going to go over it. But this time, in this case, you can see videos. You can see multiple videos of the before and the after, and you can see how this happened. And it's very, very sad. Now, let's go ahead and go to the tweet
Oh, you have a tweet?
Yes.
My bad. Hold on. I want to see these videos. So,
well, it's a tweet thread, right?
Yeah.
So this one in particular, I'm gonna go click on mine so I can kind of give some context. This first video is just like showing right after what happened. And let's just go ahead and play the video.
Будьте вы прокляты. Будь ты проклята, Украина. И там, и там.
Okay, so you guys can see very graphic video. This is right after the bombing happened.
This is something you have to think about now, fam. And I think everybody in the audience needs to think out what's the main reason for them doing this. Do they want to kill a bunch of people with these type of missiles because they're using high military grade right now? They're stepping it up. These aren't just like Stinger missiles.
No.
Do they want to blame Russia, or do they want to try to goat Russia out to using their heavy artillery so they can claim more
Right.
reasons to get involved and more reasons for funding and whatnot?
Right.
That is the question right now, fam.
And a lot of people, bring up the people that are in the know, say, "Hey, guys, this is what the Ukraine has been doing to Russians for 8 years," and it is. I
Yeah.
mean, essentially, obviously now they're more heavily funded. They have more NATO troops. They have these international wannabe, like video game player people that think they're in some sort of video game. And we're going to talk about what's happening to them because they're scared now. But it is more of what they've been doing all the time for the last 8 years. And nobody was paying attention until, of course, mainstream media told them, "Hey, Ukraine, pay attention."
Yeah.
So
There are videos, and that was what RT was showing, Donetsk and Luhansk. Videos of just families living in basements, all the pickled food and stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know what I'm saying? The kids would just, just imagine a 7-year-old kid and you're hearing the sirens or you're hearing people screaming. You're living in your basements because they're constantly shelling you. And we showed a video, too, of the Azov battalion when they were told to stand down, maybe for some peace, whatnot. They refused to do it. They refuse to do it. That's the element that we funded. They want to kill these people. They're ethnic-speaking Russians. They hate them. They want to kill them.
So,
Is this the next video,
yeah.
Oz?
So this is the actual missile. Is my mic on? Okay, great. So I just wanted to, while this is going on, just kind of give a little bit of context. So Denis Pushilin is the head of the DPR, the Donetsk People's Republic. So that's him, and he was going to look at the missile there. And so according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, they intercepted this missile and they had to shoot it down, because if they allowed it to just hit the cap or Donetsk, the city center of Donetsk, it would have been much worse, and there would have been more loss of civilians. So they intercepted it and they shot it down. So that's one of the things that.
The question is,
there.
does anybody know where it was shot from? Are we still trying to wait and figure out?
I haven't heard that the last time I heard.
Yeah. There's a
the
lot
news
of
this
talk,
morning.
really, to tell you the truth, too, what's going on. We haven't talked about it today. We don't have it in the folder, but Poland is trying to get involved. Like Poland has said they would provide weaponry or Air Force air fighters and stuff, whatnot, to Ukraine. And Russia's already said, if a jet takes off from their base, that your base is now fair game. Don't even think about it. And that's another thing, once again, trying to goad Russia into this because
Yeah.
people are so naive to what's going on. They're so ignorant to what's going on there, fam. They haven't paid attention to it. They don't care about foreign policy right now. So these are the games that are being played, and there are deadly games. And it's psychotic what the West is doing right now, playing these fucking games. They are literally playing Russian roulette, which we should probably name that American roulette now,
Yeah.
because it's not Russian roulette.
No,
it's the
even-
West who's
yeah,
doing this
even,
shit.
Even that sort of, thinking comes from that
Exactly.
sort of like Russia is so bad and you should hate them because they're lunatics
Yeah.
and they're crazy, right?
Yep.
Okay, so the next video I believe is just a bus.
Got it up, Oz?
Go.
Ooh.
Yeah, so again, warning, graphic content.
Graphic context. That's disgusting. There's another one. There's more than one dead body. There's several. Windows blown out.
Oz, I added a video on slide 22. I thought it was in the thread, but I didn't. You didn't. Slide 22 is just a tweet link to this video. It's by Patrick Lancaster. Now, Patrick Lancaster is a journalist that's American that is in Ukraine. And he's been doing a lot of coverage for PL News on Twitter. And that's his channel. So go ahead and play it. He explains it in English, what pretty much has happened.
Yeah, go back to the beginning of that video and you can go full screen on it if you can, brother. Well, you damn well, you better do the best you can. Just kidding. I'm messing with Ozzo. He's got the overalls on today, ladies and gentlemen. He's free game.
And center Donetsk has just been hit in a shelling attack. Donetsk is the capital of the anti-Ukraine government, Donetsk People's Republic. Ukraine has launched an attack on the civilian center. There's no military here. You see this, a food-carrying truck with vegetables in the back has been destroyed. We've already seen one man injured, put in the ambulance, bloody. Here's another civilian car hit. You see the ambulance? There's another car. It's mayhem. These are civilians. There's a city bus. A city bus hit.
That's the same bus.
This is the center of Donetsk with a deliberate attack on the civilian area by Ukraine forces. A civilian bus with a man killed. Oh my God. Oh shit.
Several men killed, people killed.
God.
Yeah.
No military there, fam.
No military.
No military there, fam.
No military. I mean, you can tell, right? So, and you can see that in that video, the bus too, that we just showed prior from another person's video. So this isn't like some sort of stage thing. This is like, this happened. And the people that you see dead are civilians. And it's not like really weirdly organized and some sort of like scene, like Hollywood film sort of thing that we're seeing from the other end. This is very graphic and very gross. And the mainstream media has been so silent. I was like begging them. I was like, hello, people were tagging them because I made this thread and they're so silent. And the only, of course, network that covered it like a couple hours later, once they got their bearings, because they have to also verify everything, right? You have to verify. You can't just, and they did. And so RT covered it this morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And they said a couple things. They said that Russia has already sent food and like aid, tons and tons of aid, but that Russia considers this a terrorist attack by Ukraine. And the United States made a statement saying these actions by Ukraine are, quote, regrettable. So the two sides thing, right? When supposedly Russia does something, it's like the worst thing in the world. Putin is killing mothers and children and all of that. We don't see that, but that's what they're saying. And they say this is regrettable. That's their choice of words.
Yeah. Everybody needs to go to Fiorella's Twitter, share that, get that out right now. And not only that, record the videos. Record the videos.
Yeah,
I bet you, and any minute they're going to pull them. Any minute they're going to suspend accounts showing this. Any minute they will try to disappear these, put these down the memory hole, 1984 style, get rid of them, rewrite history yourself. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, record them if you can on your hard drives. Do a quick movie, whatever you call it, quick thing, quick time, screen record, save those, whatnot, because they're going to erase them. You're going to get rid of them. You know it. I know it, fam. They're going to suspend accounts. That stuff right there is really damaging, and it's bullshit. The fact that Ukraine is doing that, and they're not doing that without the help or the aid from the West.
Yeah.
They'll find out where that bomb is coming from. They'll read that bomb.
Who gave the order?
Yep.
I mean, you got to think about this.
Game of Thrones.
Who gave the order? Because it doesn't, who pushed the button, but who gave the order?
Yeah.
That is what we have to consider. And especially, when you just read constant propaganda, and a lot of the things that they have said about Russia, what Russia did, this or that, have been debunked continuously, right? And it's crazy. This is something that's been happening in this region for a long time, but this is deliberate. This is a deliberate attack on these people. There was no military, weapons, and like this. I mean, it's disgusting seeing this this morning. It was bad, and on top of all the bad news we have, they're gonna get away with it because people are still focused on Putin as Hitler, and which is why we started the show talking about how they're rehabilitating Hitler, making him less of a villain than Putin.
The only thing I want to add is that they've been going through bombing and shelling for 8 years, right? But nothing of this magnitude with this weapon. This is now you're using fucking serious high grade weapons right now. Yeah. This is meant to hit like a military base or something to knock it out. They use it on civilians, ladies and gentlemen. And there might be stories that it was done on accident. There might be stories the Russians did it.
That's what some
to make themselves.
Saying.
To what I'm saying. It's a false flag attack by the Russians. That's what they're going to say.
The Russians aren't going to bomb their own people that are pro-Russia, like the own people that have been trying to fight to be able to speak the language. The Russians aren't going to do that. That makes logistically no sense. Also, the type of missile that was used is a Ukrainian missile. So it could be. We'll find out if it's a Raytheon, a Boeing. Yeah,
we're going to find out which one not. But we know it's not a Russian made. Trust me, we will find out. And once we do, that's when the censoring will start hardcore, because they're already doing that right now. They have that missile. They're finding out where it came from. They're having press conferences. Putin's probably already spoke on it, and they're going to try to turn this around and blame. It was Putin, that sicko. He killed his own people, fam. It's coming. How about some super race?
Yeah.
How about some happiness in a land of darkness? Because this is something, it's kind of funny because we're, our last day in this studio here, we talked about the Ukraine situation years ago. When we got in here, we talked about it in our first shows. We've been talking about Ukraine nonstop for the last several years, and now it's come to fruition. Now shit is going down, and it's scary and sick as can be. But we told people, we warned people, and there was only a few of us. That's why it's so easy. Where fam is coming from, it's kind of interesting because the next couple, topics that we're going to go into, it's from a point where you already know what's going on. You understand the culture of Ukraine. You understand what the West did in 2014, because then you can build on it. People still have to go back to square one and understand, and what happened in 2014? Oh, really? So it's kind of awesome that our audience gets to take this kind of ride and journey with us today. To really build upon what we already know.
And you could even go back to the Orange Revolution too, prior to that time.
Yeah.
Where, with Yanukovych's first run, where he quote unquote lost the election
because he poisoned his opposition.
Yeah.
They blamed it on the Russians.
Thrones,
But people believe that shit. Like they believe the Russian doping scandal. It's like, where are you getting this information from? It's all from the West. It's a trap. Guys, thank you so much. Game.film. Is that what that says? Happy Monday, fam. I love you guys. The Rebel Ataku. Thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. I feel a little bit dies every time inside. OG North American Ape. What's up, big dog?
Fam?
Good to see you.
We missed you.
How you doing, fam? Yo, what's good, fam? Can't wait to y'all talk about the TikTok story, which is coming up. That shit was wild to hear. Imagine willingly becoming a White House asset. Not surprising, but it's probably even more dangerous than the usual MSN propaganda since it's coming from the regular creators. If Gen Z doesn't trust Maddow, Hayes, Cooper, Seltzer, then just get their favorite influencers to do the same job. You are damn straight, because people don't understand this stuff. And once they do these things, remember the video with the Uyghurs with the girl? She was like, I'm putting my eyeliners right now, and I want to let you know the Uyghurs are blah, 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 blah. That thing got so many hits, so many views, so many people watched it. And you're right, since people are consumed with Instagram videos, TikTok videos, all these things, just get them in there. But fam, I think a lot of these TikTok influencers really don't know what's going on.
No, they
so
don't.
it's going to be easy to lead them
they don't know anything.
to say what they want. Oh boy. Once they do this shit, because they're used to doing like videos on like cotton candy or animals or stuff, when they get into this area, they're going to get some pushback from the independent people who know what the hell's going on. I can't wait to see how they react. But you know they'll be protected. These people are being bullied, fam. They just want to wear their mask inside. Dr. Dragon, I can no longer comment on YouTube. In fact, no one can from my house. I can see comments on my computer and phone, but no one else can see them. Crazy shite. Dr. Dragon, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with this shit on a regular basis. Fiorella just saw it with her own eyes, and this is like the 5th time in 6 months that I'm not following her. I'm unsubscribed.
Yeah, he unfollowed me.
Come on, guys. Are you serious? It happens all the time. So I'm just imagining if that's just me. You know what I'm saying? How many people have unsubscribed you? And people have said the same thing about me too as well. Since my suspension, I've been moving like a snail. I'm starting to move again, but that's what they're doing. They're shadow banning people. They're not putting them in the algorithm. They're keeping them silent. And now with this whole situation, the more information comes out from truth tellers and people who know what's going on, the more it is more damaging to their narrative. So they have to silence it, shut it down, throw RT out. Who's next? Well, it's in the name of Russia. He's Thanos Putin, so get rid of him. Trey Wright, thank you for the Super Right contribution. First comparisons, first comparisons. Then they rehabilitate Hitler. Next, they'll resurrect Hitler and make him do a TikTok dances with AOC. Trey Wright.
You know, don't put it out there, Trey, because you can expect anything in this crazy dimension / universe / Sims disaster.
Yep. Cultist Demon, thank you so much for the Super 8 contribution, Cultist. It's awesome to see you today. Stalin was the Putin of yesteryear, fam. He was no angel, but you should be very suspicious of propaganda you hear about the guy who led the Red Army to victory against the Nazis.
That is true.
The Soviets destroyed over 80% of the Nazi army. There's no comparison.
True.
Jim Garrison, thank you so much, Jim Garrison, for the Super 8 contribution. If you don't know Jim Garrison, he went after Clay Shaw for killing John F. Kennedy. Fee and pasta. I'm a little older than you guys, you think, but in going back to my BAM, why does the U.S. always back the bad guys?
And going back to BAM, why does the U.S. always back the bad guys?
Okay. Because I don't know why. I mean, because really, to tell you the truth, it's not about democracy. We're not going out there and spreading freedom. We're not going there and uniting anybody. We're going out there to take resources. We're going in there to make sure that our monetary system is the one that people are using by using austerity measures. We're going there to control. There's a global lead. This is not about the United States now, guys. You can see that every single decision the Congress makes is not for the benefit of the people. It's because their handlers, their leaders told them what to do, and it's all about them right now. That's why we look into the World Economic Forum and these other things, because right now with this whole situation that's happened over the last 2 years, they've really shown their face. And at this point, they're still showing their face, and they're rubbing it in your face. At what point are you going to say, hey, no more, we're going to push back, we're not going to listen to your lies and your bullshit any longer? It stops today. Shelly Longbow, I love that name, Shelly Longbow, thank you for the Super 8 contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. El Brillante. We need 1 week organized planned boycott of YouTube, Google, Facebook, Twitter, and corporate-owned sponsored media. Like, really build it up and do a 1 week boycott. Call it Stop the Censorship. I'm down, but how do you get the people out there?
How you get people to because a lot of people depend on YouTube for their monetization. Obviously, we don't really, but like a lot of people do, and like they're
No.
trying to like be there as long as they can, and like it's just so hard to like get even people who like independent people, and then you have like people who like are making tons of money, like they're not gonna fucking get rid of it. I think this is, if there's the time to do that, it's now, to completely like make YouTube secondary because of what they're doing to RT. I think more people should.
But that's the thing. YouTube also, like, I'm a sports guy, right? So if I want to go back and watch Barzy highlights, I got to go to YouTube to watch that. There's no other place I can go to it. So they have that kind of like
monopoly.
They have a monopoly on that, and people are just so accustomed. What's the thing when you just do it every day? It's like part of your culture, part of your nature when it comes to electronics. It's just very systematic, like that you do it.
Nature,
Exactly, and that's the problem right now. We have to pull people away from that. That's a great idea. So let's keep on building upon that. Lucky Burrito A&M, we love you, fam. We love you too, Lucky Burrito. Sending us those awesome magnets of Julian Assange the day before. Wow. Carrie Mark.
The artwork.
Old school, fam.
Yes, Carrie.
Fam, I'm going to get sad and emotional in the
God.
studio.
Fam,
Carrie Mark.
We got
Glad to see you. Okay, let me put it. All right, you got it. Next one.
Okay, so.
Oh,
yeah,
fam.
that one.
Oh,
fam,
my Lord.
You did it.
Here we go.
Okay, so this is I watched the entire, not watched, I listened to the entire 51 minutes of bullshit by Saki and some other moron, I forget his name. And I went through the most important parts that you guys should know about, because this is really scary. As an OG North American ape said, like, this is really scary because these young people don't watch Rachel Maddow. They don't watch CNN, MSNBC. Trust me, they go on TikTok 24/7. They get their news in 1 minute bites from a lot of these TikTok influencers who decide, like they're once in a while, even though they're doing TikTok dances, that they're going to have some sort of opinion on this. And their opinion comes from the mainstream. Their opinion does not come from watching independent media. And if it is independent media, it's not really independent. It is like Bosch or some other moron on Twitch. So it's really bad out there. They're trying to get Gen Z to fall in line. And Gen Z is easy because they don't have the pre 9/11 thing. They were, most of them were born after 9/11, or they were extremely young when that happened. So they haven't seen this propaganda at work for very long. You can find parallels to that in Nicaragua when he came to the Sandinista revolution, when a lot of people, the younger people, it was harder to convince them about who the Sandinistas were and like what happened and who the Contras were and all of that, because they weren't alive during that time. So that kind of thing is a danger where we have to push back in some ways and find ways to gear towards younger people to get them to understand that they're being weaponized and manipulated. And you're going to see how bad it is, because it's really bad.
Fee wanted to start a TikTok a long time ago, pay a lot of attention to him. We just were too many things we have to do, but she had the idea because she wanted to reach younger people a long time ago, start that TikTok, correct, and make some videos to really kind of get some people into the door.
Yeah, but it's the other thing is that TikTok also, it bans things that they're calling misinformation.
Exactly.
So even if I were to do that, it would only be a limited time before I got banned. And some of the stuff we covered in the Combo Couch TikTok was already immediately banned. So okay. I don't know what that is. So okay, so this
you didn't put that there?
No. So the Biden White House, of course, gave 30 TikTok influencers a briefing on the Russia-Ukraine war. And by briefing, it was an indoctrination. And this is really small.
Let me make it bigger.
That's what she said.
Go ahead. Stop.
Dozens of TikTok influencers were given a White House briefing on Russia, Ukraine Thursday. The WAPO reported, and we're going to go over what the WAPO said. And Taylor Lorenz was the journalist who had the audio recording, and we're going to listen to that. And yeah, so let's go ahead and go through some of what the direct Washington Post said. So the TikTok videos offered some of the first glimpses of the Russian invasion. Since then, the platform has been primary outlet for spreading news to the masses abroad. Ukrainian citizens hiding in bomb shelters or fleeing their homes have shared their stories to the platform, while dangerous misinformation and Russian propaganda have also spread. And TikTok stars, many with millions of followers, have increasingly sought to make sense of the crises for their audiences. So the White House has been closely watching this. And of course, they want to take control of the most influential names. And so they have there's this organization called Gen Z for Change, which by the name, you can already tell it's going to be fucking bullshit. A nonprofit advocacy group that helps identify top content creators on the platform to orchestrate a briefing aimed at answering questions about the conflict and the United States' role in it. Victoria Hammett, Deputy Executive Director of Gen Z for Change, contacted dozens with invitations via email and gathered potential questions for the Biden administration. So by gathered potential questions, that means that they had to look at their questions and sort of and lead them on to where to go. And you'll hear that when they ask the questions, you know that those questions were pre-approved. You can just tell. And so there's just they kind of all the TikTokers kind of like focused on whatever their audiences would be. And after the call, several influencers said they felt more empowered to debunk misinformation and communicate effectively about the crisis. TikTok has been overrun with false and misleading news since the war broke out. And on Thursday, the company said it finally would begin labeling state-controlled media on its platform. There you go. And that's a Chinese app.
The Chinese, fam, I was going to say. It's China's fault.
So it's interesting. It's a Chinese app, but remember the United States gained their own like sort of control over it because they were going to ban it. And that whole thing happened, if you guys recall. Biden has done this before. The administration worked with dozens of top TikTok stars last year to encourage vaccination. So again, this isn't anything new. They've been doing this because they see that these people have millions of followers and they want to take advantage of that. He also educated people on the infrastructure plan and on the child care component of his Build Back Better, aka the Great Reset initiative. And yeah, he sat for interviews with two parents. And so I wanted to kind of point out that the son of Aaron Parnas, the son of Lev Parnas, who was a Ukrainian-born American businessman and former associate of Giuliani, who assisted Trump's plan to pressure Ukraine to investigate Trump's rivals, was on the call. So he's the son, and he was his father was convicted in October of campaign finance charges and recently pled guilty to conspiracy. So his son, Aaron Parnas, emerged as a powerful TikTok influencer, and he kept providing news about Ukraine, saying he has family in Ukraine, and kept talking about everything that's been happening. And he said, they say he has been posting a video breaking down news about the war every 45 minutes from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And how does he do that? That means he has some sort of fucking army working with him, because there's no way. How are you going to post videos every 45 minutes from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. without having help? So there's like an operation there behind that too. And he said he was getting his information directly from reputable sources in the country, his family members, local Ukrainian journalists, and Ukrainian television. And he said, I love my father, but I am not my father. And he's one of the people that when he asks the question, it's very much like, it's just so fucking ridiculous. It is so like complete. It's such a lie. It's just everything he does. So now that I went over all that, let's go ahead and start listening. Anything to say?
Nope. Let's just listen, because I'm very interested to hear this shit, because you listened to it. I haven't. So let's check it out.
Slowly but consistently on the same three
Can't even hear it.
That they initially launched the invasion on, from the north headed towards Kyiv, from the east around Kharkiv, and from the south, mostly centered now around Mariupol, where they've launched these devastating attacks on civilians.
Better mics.
On all three fronts, the Russian attack has moved much more slowly than we believe they expected, much more slowly than people in the West expected. We think that's for a few reasons. Number one, the Ukrainians have fought incredibly hard, incredibly bravely. The military, supported by regular civilians who have joined the fight. The Ukrainians have been better armed than I think the Russians expected, and have been more nimble in launching attacks, especially on kind of big lumbering Russian convoys of tanks and other armored equipment. And number two, the Russians have had their own difficulties, even apart from what the Ukrainians have done to them. I think their military hardware has not functioned as well as people expected of the supposedly great Russian war machine. They've had logistical and mechanical difficulties, and then they've really had significant morale difficulties. We continue to see reports of Russian soldiers who've not following orders, deserting in some cases, and a feeling among some in the Russian army that they were deceived. They thought they were on a training exercise, and they're now in a war against their neighbors, and they have no idea what they're fighting for. So what does that all mean? So I think where we're seeing the Russians turn their attacks, since their initial plan to kind of take over the country very quickly has failed, they're now turning this kind of war of attrition, which is where you see them launching these really brutal attacks on civilians, bombing hospitals, maternity wards, cutting civilians off from food and water, in some cases electricity, to try to really put pressure on the Ukrainian population.
Okay, so this was just an introductory where he's like introducing them, like, what's going on with Russia. They're not as strong as they said they were going to be. They've been like, the morale is low. Now they're going around bombing schools and hospitals. He just, the usual narrative spin, right? But while he's saying that, what's happening in reality is that the Ukrainian people that enlisted thinking that it was Call of Duty, whatever Call of Duty they're on. I don't know. I'll have to call Jonny and see what Call of Duty they're on. But like, they're like, wait a minute, we didn't think that enlisting in war was going to mean war. Here is a thread from Reddit where, they're having this discussion, and Max posted this on Twitter, and they said, this person says, you weren't expecting missiles at war. And this person says, no, just not at the base at that particular time. Shit surprised all of us, including the Ukrainians. You guys are all idiots then. Of course they try to attack a training base. I mean, that's all that they've been attacking, the military areas. And the guy says, thanks, man. The cannon fodder term is what's coming out of a lot of volunteers' mouths. That's why I mentioned it. There was a real shift in people's expectations of being utilized as a unit with operational capabilities versus the reality of basically being bodies in front of the advancing Russians. What did you think would happen? They're using you for a narrative. Okay. Like that was always the thing. And then the person says, yes, morale is pretty bad. I mean, the whole damn base was destroyed. And now the Legion is just kind of shoving guys with little training to the front. Gee, that's surprising. Not really. Not at all. They make you sign a contract that states you'll serve until the end of conflict. But if you want to leave an hour later, they totally respect that. So these people are scared out of their mind. And this is the Ukrainian international army that's been recruited by, NATO, all these people coming in from Brazil, from all these countries. Now, this is a good account to follow. It's called Ukraine Maps. They've been putting out a lot of information. And they said newly arrived foreign fighters are now massively trying to flee to Poland. 4 Brazilian foreign fighters who survived the attack already back in Poland. These are military veterans from Brazil. So there they are. And Wyatt, basically, you can kind of understand what I can kind of understand what they say in this video, and I verified it. But basically what they're saying is, what this guy says is there were soldiers from all over the world, even from the special forces of different countries. The missiles ended everything. The entire Ukrainian Foreign Legion was exterminated. Okay, so reportedly, 118 people of these mercenaries, whatever, were killed in a Russian strike. And according to the guy in the Reddit, they're putting untrained people who just wanted to gung ho and come in and play this video game in real life and they're pushing them to the front. And so while the State Department is indoctrinating Gen Z with, Russian morale is bad, they don't have all the weapons they thought they could, blah, 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 this is taking them a lot longer. The reality is much different. And by the way, if Russia wanted to take over Ukraine, they would have done it a long time ago. They could have done it very, very quickly, much more. Like, they obviously don't want to do that. So yeah.
War management narratives. It's just interesting. It's so fun. I mean, it's not fun. It's sad when you think about it, but that's the whole problem right now with the censorship, with them cutting everything, is they don't want you to know the truth. They want you to hear their story. And America and the West, they got a really kind of funny, fucking sarcastic, dark sense of fucking humor sometimes. I think the way they kind of portray things, really dark shit. You know what I'm saying? And the way they rah cheer people on. It's always people who are never gonna have to fight a war themselves, or they're people who kind of ordered wars and lost them themselves. That's who's pushing all these narratives that are being debunked right in front of you in this time right now. So
let's go to slide 40 because they're not going to understand the video anyway. But this is from once again. PL News. And he did this video coverage, right? And I'm just going to read what was actually happening, because again, we're getting the whole idea that Putin is bombing hospital, Putin is bombing the schools. And so this Ukrainian lady said, "What do you want from me? Can you tell me about what happened here? What happened? Ukraine happened. Do you understand it? The bastards left. They smashed and plundered everything." So again, this is another account of another person in Ukraine saying it's the Ukrainians themselves destroying a lot of this. And then she continues. She says the Ukrainian army left and shoots. When the Ukrainian troops retreated, they smashed everything. They broke my door, so I have to sleep with the open door. Do you understand it? And it is cold. The radiators are cold. There's no gas, no electricity, no water, no heat. This is cold. It's cold right now up there. And thankfully, they're getting out of winter into spring, but it's still cold. It's not like spring is here. Like it's different. It's still going to be like in the 40s and stuff, in the 30s sometimes. And again, they're also highly dependent on the gas from Russia. So this is screwing a lot of these people. And then she continues, how to live. I'm sitting like this for 16 days. This is how we live. Where are those Donetsk People's Republic guys? Why don't they fix it? How long can we wait for them? The Red Cross was coming, but where is it? So they're even mad at the Donetsk people. Like, we want you to help us. Like, where are you? And so this is all that's happening. It's a very gray situation here. And the people that get screwed are these people right now.
The citizens that live there, at the end of the day.
So now we're just going to go through a blitzkrieg, no pun intended, of this, where they're just giving you State Department talking points, and you guys are going to know them because you watch the show. But we're going to, of course, debunk it every single time. So at 11:39 hours, let's hit it. They're saying Putin isn't achieving his goals.
Yeah.
No longer achieve its long-term objectives here. President Biden said 2 days ago that Ukraine will never be a victory for Putin. And what he meant by that is, look, Putin can win short-term tactical objectives. He has a bigger military on the ground than the Ukrainians do. But he has so turned the population against him. The Ukrainians, if they ever had any chance of supporting a Russian occupation, which is was not ever in the cards anyway, now have been so brutalized by the Russian attacks that they are never going to stand for any kind of long-term occupation. They're never going to stand for a public government. So what Putin has hoped to achieve in Ukraine, he's not going to be able to. Doesn't mean there aren't a lot of really long, ugly days ahead of us. There certainly are. But that ultimately his objectives will be. So what does the United States do to make that happen? Two things. One, give as much support as we can to the Ukrainians. Some of that takes the form of military support, security assistance. We've talked a lot about that. We've committed $1 billion in the past year, $250 million in just the last week or so that we've surged in to help the Ukrainian army, and there's more on the way. Economic assistance to the Ukrainian government, and also really critically now, humanitarian assistance. We're sending into Ukraine food, water, medical supplies, things that people really need to kind of just sustain daily life. The second part of that is holding Russia accountable, specifically holding Putin accountable. And we've tried to do that by assembling this coalition in the West to impose crippling economic sanctions on the Russian economy, to target Putin himself and those closest to him, and to really kind of degrade Russia's ability to finance this war and its ability to project power.
Okay. So in case you missed that, they're basically indoctrinating these kids to be okay with sanctions. So this is how we help Ukrainians. We hold Putin accountable. We give, of course, humanitarian aid, blah, blah, blah. But we also give these sanctions. We show Putin who's boss. I mean, this is the indoctrination happening. And the reason I get so worked up about this, it's because these people are very young. Most of them are about 18 years old. They don't know anything. I mean, at 18 years old, I didn't know shit. And a lot of these people are, ahead of their time in certain terms. But some younger people like Lori, that she's Gen Z, and this is what. There's no excuse. Just because they're young doesn't mean that they can't learn and that they can't do well. Glory completely knocks it out of the park with the excuses. They're young, they're dumb. But these people, they don't know what they're being used for. They just think they have a TikTok and they think they're doing the right thing because their whole life it's like, oh, the government, let's listen to these people that are smarter than we are. They know. They don't know.
No, yeah.
So they're just being used. And
you said 18-year-old people don't know, 28-year-old people don't know, 38-year-old people don't know.
I mean,
a lot of people don't know. 48, I don't know shit still this day, you know what I'm saying? But the whole thing is, so I just want to point out really quickly that it says Putin's not obtaining his goals.
Yeah.
And they try to give you this whole story of what he's really trying to do. Like he's Thanos and he's trying to get the last stone in the Ukraine. It's the yellow and the blue stone so he can fucking snap his fingers and all of Europe will live in darkness forever and eventually come to the United States. But his really goals are to demilitarize, denazify, and neutralize, pretty much what Douglas McGregor said, neutralize. They don't want an anti-Russian government that's going to seek nuclear weapons with Nazis at their border. That's what they want. That is their goal. And to get rid of these biolab weapons too as well. They don't want any of that shit going on at its border. So that's their main thing. He's not taking territory. They're not advancing in. And, there are some people out there like, well, Putin kind of like, even people like, kind of agree with, they're like, Putin thought it was going to be easy that he would be able to take Kiev in a couple of days. He could take Kiev tomorrow if he wants to, really, to tell you the truth. This is not a geographical location where they can hide in mountains and whatnot. It's, the layout of Ukraine is easy with a military like the Russians to take if they wanted to. They don't want to take it. They want to denazify, demilitarize, and then neutralize the Ukraine. That is what they want, fam.
So let's just play the next clip real quick. It's 1546.
And my question is, some people feel as though the actions that have happened up until now warrant a stronger response from the United States, including the imposition of a no-fly zone. So is there anything Russia can do to Ukraine outside of a direct act of war against the United States or NATO that would rise to the level of the United States proceeding with increased measures, including a no-fly zone or even potentially boots on the ground?
Sorry about that.
So that is really that is the question that it's not that it's hard to ask, but it raises the most of the thing that's really troubling for everyone that watches this. So it is tough to see these atrocities on the ground every day and not want to do more. And so we always ask ourselves, what more can we do? And that means what more can we do without making this a wider war that brings more countries into conflict, puts American soldiers at risk. And what the president has decided is the best thing we can do to end this war as quickly as possible without escalating it to a bigger conflict is to support the Ukrainians in all the ways I was talking about. And all the ways I was talking about and others. There's lots of military assistance we're going in that we never talk about. But what he's also decided is it is not in the national interest of the United States to send American soldiers in to fight and die in this war, both because it's not in our interest and also it would lead to a wider conflict. And you don't have to, when you think of two nuclear powers engaging in a shooting war, how that could end up. Now,
okay.
Fam, do you remember the USS Liberty, me talking about it, bringing the stories, whatnot? It was a false flag attack where the Israelis tried to sink an American vessel to blame it on the Egyptians during the 12-day war to escalate the war itself. We've said this from the get-go that this could lead into a bad situation. I don't foresee the Russians hitting anything, like Poland, whatnot, or anything like that. But it remains to be seen. But very, very simply, I think that you can see another situation like that, where even though Ned Price, John Sullivan, Jeffrey Pyatt, I don't know which one of these assholes
this is Matt Miller.
Matt Miller. See, they're all
National
the same.
Security Council.
They're interchangeable assholes. But what Matt Miller was saying right there, once again, echoing that whole thing that we don't foresee American boots on the ground. Well, hold my fucking beer. How many situations have they said that? World War I, World War II, Vietnam, every single situation. And guess what happens? Boots end up on the ground. That's why we've been saying from the get-go that this is a very dangerous situation that has been playing out on the Russian border for many fucking years. So this whole bullshit right here, what's going on too as well. And it is kind of sick that you're sitting here and you're listening to this and the way they're kind of corrupting and twisting people's fucking minds, young kids' minds, to go out and influence other younger kids to be warmongers, to think it's okay to sanction people for a start, to think it's okay to fucking punish people, you know, by ways of sanctions and military, to justify military weapons and stuff because they have this whole Vladimir Thanos Putin kind of mentality.
They're doing it via, we're helping Ukraine. This is how we help Ukraine. We sanction these Russians, not telling them that sanctions are an active siege war and the people that most suffer are working class Russians, not Putin. And even if you don't like Putin, right? And that's what they're not telling them. And this next one is the worst one. And by the way, the guy who asked the question was basically asking, like, some people want us to act now. He was asked, like, they demand a no-fly zone. So they were basically saying, are you not going to put a no-fly zone? This is what's going on in TikTok, where people are demanding no-fly zones without understanding that a no-fly zone means war. And even Jen Psaki has to repeat that later on. She has to say, well, it means war. Even they know that they can't go to nuclear war toe-to-toe with Russia because it's two nuclear powers, and that is catastrophic.
Yeah. And by the way, too, as well, lawmakers don't even understand what a no-fly zone is. Max Blumenthal had to fucking explain it to a lawmaker over there. That means World War III. The no planes are allowed to fly. A Russian plane flies over, a missile hits it, and now we are into World War III. It's the last thing we want is a no-fly zone. But of course, the Hillary Clinton and her little stands and all these other people will continue to echo it and speak that shit out. It's scary. And it's scary to hear kids going, okay, why don't we have a no-fly zone now? Why don't it's ridiculous. They have no clue whatsoever. We've been coddled. We've been too safe over here for too long, fam. And believe you me, we keep up with this behavior, the chickens is coming home to roost. The chickens is coming home to roost.
That's Boss's favorite say, but he's absolutely right. The chickens is coming home to roost. So this next one is one of the worst ones. Me off. Jen Psaki regurgitates the Russiagate conspiracy theory that's been debunked and says Putin has always done this. Russia hacked our elections. Russians have been bad forever. So let's go ahead and hear 2055 us.
If you look back at 2014 and frankly even 2016, when Russia invaded Ukraine, and then in 2016 when they, of course, hacked our election here, we did not do that, right? We did not declassify information, and it was very hard to communicate to the public and to compete with, frankly, the disinformation war that Russia was waging. So that decision on its own to put out all of the steps we were anticipating them taking, whether it was, and we've called them these, false flags or setting up false pretexts, which is basically their effort to justify an invasion and justify all of the military action you've seen them take. Because of these efforts to declassify information, even as we're watching all of this happen, it has been nearly impossible for them to justify to the global community what they're doing. But I'll stop there.
No, I don't have much to add to that other than say, look, this is obviously an issue the U.S., like a lot of Western countries, struggles with how to deal with disinformation. It's particularly hard when you're engaged in a kind of information war with a country like Russia that plays by different rules than we do. Russia, it's part of their strategy to go out and spread disinformation, lies on social media and elsewhere. They have their officials stand up and say things that are not true. And we don't play by those rules. It's not how we operate as a government. And so we made a decision early on in the lead up to this invasion, as Jen said, that the only way we could combat Russian disinformation was to call them on it as early as possible and to flood the information space with what we thought that they were going to.
Who's going to call disinformation on them, fam? Who's going to call out their bullshit and stuff?
Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014. No, false. The United States backed neo-Nazis, armed them, and staged a coup. Russia, Crimea, that was legitimately decided by the people of that region. Yeah, so that's what they use to say Russia invaded Ukraine and they took her. No, that's not what happened.
They annexed it. No, they didn't. People voted to go to Mother Russia because they ethnic speaking Russians rather be part of Russia than, you know what I'm saying? Now, but, by all means, don't get me wrong. I don't think Russia was going to stand back and not let that happen. It's a very strategic land,
Yeah.
Crimea. There's a Russian military naval base there too as well. But a lot of the Ukrainians that were part of the Ukrainian naval base over there defected to the Russians anyways over there. And the people overwhelmingly of Crimea voted to say, we're going back to Mother Russia. Screw this freaking this regime change Fugazi government that the West is propping up. Not playing, fam.
And notice how she quickly went to also in 2016 when they
hacked our elections,
continuing the conspiracy theory that was debunked. I don't know, so many times, right? Where's
you got to go to the vault,
can we label
fam.
that misinformation?
No.
Are they ever going to get in trouble for spewing, literally lying? This is, I mean, so you see, and so these kids don't know about fucking Russiagate. Like this is what I'm talking about here, and they're indoctrinating. And then they go, and then Matt Miller goes, Russians have always acted this way. This is part of their how
culture.
they act. Yeah, they always make things up, and they always act this way. We don't do that. We don't spread misinformation. We don't. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding
If you
me?
poll Republicans and Democrats alike, it's so funny. If you poll them, a bunch of Democrats will still think that the Russians hacked the 2016 election. They didn't hack shit. They didn't do shit. It's ridiculous. It's laughable on its face.
And it's disgusting how they say Russians, this is how they are.
Yeah.
They're trying to cultivate a hatred to the people of Russia, not just like Putin, but to Russians in general.
Yes.
This is how Russians
These
are.
Ruskies
Blah,
are
blah, blah.
bad.
Yeah.
They are bad.
So the next one is it's Putin's fault. Okay.
Yeah,
Everything is Putin's fault.
His name is Vladimir Thanos Putin.
Right now, and the things that are impacting inflation, whether it's COVID or right now this invasion. I mean, you're part of, in many ways, standing up for a generation that is standing up for the values of the United States, right? Which is the invasion of a foreign dictator into another country and standing up for the rights of the people in that country. And well, it's his actions, President Putin, that is prompting the rise in gas prices. That is why it's happening. And that is what I would say as young people are experiencing this moment and thinking, what does this mean? And what am I a part of? And why is my gas prices going up? It's because of what President Putin is doing, but also because you live in a country where we're rallying the world to stand up against that. And that's part of our values and part of who we are. And as much as no one wants to pay more in gas, we don't. We're going to take steps to lower them. That's what this moment in history will be as well.
How did they say it with a straight face, fam? And we are just American USA Captain America fighting for freedom and around the globe and prosperity. And who's the dude pointing to the Biden picture with the nails? What is that? Is that a TikTok influencer or something?
I think, yeah, it is.
Oh my God.
So Putin, okay, so you guys notice that, right? Like, oh, well, you're a part of a country where you're standing up to evil villain Putin. Why do you guys think there's so many Marvel movies out? Why do you guys think there's so many of that being pushed out? Think about that there. Putin is evil. And, if you're wondering why are my gas prices going up? It's because of Putin. This is what he's doing, but we don't want high gas prices. We're going to try to bring them down, but just know that you're a part of something so great, a part of standing up to Putin and for democracy. Notice how they frame that, like gas prices. Yeah. Let's not focus on that. But it's Putin's fault. And also you're standing up for democracy. This is what you want, right? You guys are, proud TikTokers. You're Americans. Be proud to be an American. It's the same fucking bullshit that the neocons do. It's just using different words and different things catered to more a liberal audience. But it's the same shit, the same patriot sort of jingoistic nationalism that isn't, it's not based on the people. It's based on war. The nationalism based on war.
It's built upon Klaus Schwab's in the World Economic Forum. Fam, it's revisionism is next, right?
Revisionism, entire revisionism.
He actually has been invading Ukraine, been fighting a war in Ukraine since 2014. He took Crimea, but he also has been fighting this war in the Donbass. And the Ukrainians have been fighting, really hard to hold out of the territory, and they've been upping their military capabilities in that time. So we expected that they would be a tougher adversary than the Russians expected. what I don't think anyone expected is the problems with Russian morale. And I think this kind of goes to the limits of disinformation to some extent. So, Putin has been telling the Russian people for years that, Ukraine is a country run by Nazis, despite the fact that, the president of Ukraine is Jewish and has family members who died in the Holocaust. Frankly,
they use all the fucking same fucking talking points. How do they say it with a straight face? That's all I want to know.
Psychopaths.
How do they are crazy.
Sociopaths, dude.
These people are fucking sick to say this shit, whatnot. They have all the fucking talking points, fam. Wow. And Crimea again, right?
Crimea again, yeah. All the talking points that we
Zelensky's Jewish. How can they support neo-Nazis?
I mean,
the neo-Nazis are openly neo-Nazis. They're like, yeah, we're Nazis. They're
proud.
Yeah.
They're not trying to hide it. Okay.
Hail to the heroes is what they're fucking call, whatever.
So
glory to the heroes.
Two quick ones. Why Ukraine? Why Ukraine?
Yeah. It begins with a U.
Here in the United States have become dejected regarding the situation because there's a perceived imbalance of coverage and assistance given to the Ukraine-Russia crisis compared to other occupations, invasions, and attacks throughout the world, some of which have U.S. involvement. So why should these Americans be in support of the United States giving such high levels of tension and direct support against the Russian invasion as they feel there isn't attention on related issues in other places throughout the world or here in the U.S.?
What a good and thoughtful question. I mean, I'll start. I think this is the largest invasion since World War II. So let's start there. I will say that you raise a really important point and question, and I think you and your platforms can help maybe change this a bit. But there are, to your point, a range of conflicts that are happening, frankly, every day. And human rights abuses that are happening and genocides that are happening around the world that don't get and warrant it, but they don't get the coverage and attention from the U.S. media or from the public as a result that they deserve. And I'll give you a couple of examples you guys may be following, but I would encourage you to shine some light on them. What we've seen happen in Ethiopia in recent months, the abuse of Uyghurs in China. I mean, I could go on of what we're seeing around the world, and I know many of you are following this and tracking this very closely. And I don't think that this conflict should take away from that. We should have our eyes wide open and be educating the public about all of these issues.
So the only person that asks a cognizant question like, why Ukraine? Why? We're not paying enough attention to other conflicts. He didn't specify what conflicts, but we know we can talk about Libya, Syria, everything.
Palestine. I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. And so, then they answer it with bullshit. But then the whole you were cracking up when she said
we all cracked up, which is first of all, I wanted to let you know this is the biggest invasion since World War II. Jen Psaki. No, it's not. You got to be fucking kidding me.
You're right. How do they say this with a straight face?
How do you say this with a straight face? And then she goes over there. Well, there are other things, and I'm dying for you guys to talk about these. Let me think about the ones that are imperialist ones that we're not getting enough report on. The Uyghurs, in Ethiopia. Please tell our lie what's going on. In Tigray, they're getting killed over there and stuff like that. Meanwhile, in every single situation, they've been caught lying, especially in the Ethiopia and whatnot. What this gentleman was alluding to, I think, was he was trying to talk about Palestine. And there was actually a soccer player. I should have talked about Gloria. There's a soccer player who says it wasn't cool to talk about, politics and sports, but since it's cool, there's also, there's people around the globe who have not been getting attention to what's going on. For Palestine, for one instance, I was like, holy shit. So there is hope there that we have opportunities to talk about, other areas which the media completely ignores because they're in bed for, the corporations who want to go over there, extract these resources. They're in bed with the banks and stuff. But fam, the thing I noticed more than anything is you'll never see any of these people have any counter narrative around them whatsoever, right? They'll never have any pushback. even the small, tiny, itty, bitty, weedy pushback you get in the press rooms and whatnot in the White House is a controlled environment.
Yeah.
That's why you know they're lying. If you're so confident of what you have to say, if you're so confident that Putin is some Thanos demon son of a bitch, then stand up and talk about against somebody who thinks differently than you. They never do, fam. They hide, and that's that. They think you're dumb. They think if they can say a bunch of smart, sophisticated things with nobody to push back against the narrative, you're going to buy it. And guess what? You are buying it. Not you out there, the people we know. So that's why we have a lot of work to do, ladies and gentlemen, in getting the truth out. Not these TikTokers who are being groomed.
They're being groomed. And that's, I mean, and out of all the questions, that was the only question that even faced some sort of like criticism to them. And it was obviously they allowed it. But you know, they had an answer for it that was complete riddled in bullshit. And the guy made a TikTok after and said, kind of a little bit of criticism, said, I don't, you know, they still could have done something. They could still control what they're talking about. He gave some pushback about what he was told, but that's one person out of all the fucking 30 people that they interviewed. I mean, it just goes to show you. And the very last one is the U.S. response to Russia using chemical weapons.
Oh, it's a goodie, an oldie but a goodie, because it still works.
Russia has been conveying or telling the world that the United States has a biological and chemical weapons program and that the Ukrainians do. Both false and inaccurate component pieces of information, which we wanted to swap back swiftly yesterday. What is also true, as Sharon, I think, knows, but for everybody, is that Russia has a chemical and biological weapons program. They have used chemical weapons in the past against people in their own country, against people in NATO countries. And so they have that capacity and capability.
I'm sorry, Pasta, I must be dumb, but when did that happen? When did Russia have, when did this happen?
Fam, smart people out there have said, I like when they do that one. Smart people have, that's what something Kamala Harris has said. Smart people out there have said, you know, she does that.
Ukraine is a small country next to a larger country. And what was I saying? Like
smart people know that Putin, you want to talk about Putin? He has chemical weapons. Putin has chemical weapons. He's used them. This is a known thing, fam.
It's just
known. Putin. It's known.
It's like Game of Thrones. It is known. It is known. No. What are you talking about? Like, what the fuck?
Well, I think this next part you have is really good because it explains when there's this false narrative put out there, when it can be debunked, when it can be shown, and this is something they were trying to get ahead of, and that's why they're cutting RT from YouTube now too as well, because information like this gets debunked.
And all the accounts that are on Twitter, like ASM. Okay, so this is from Victor Victop, the Telegram. Fake. Vladimir Zelensky on Instagram called Russia's strike on the Mariupol maternity hospital atrocity and said that children and their mothers and doctors are under the rubble. Truth. The maternity hospital has not worked since the beginning of Russia's special operation in Ukraine. This is backed by multiple Russian and Ukrainian media, actually more Ukrainian than Russian, that have been saying the same thing. The doctors were dispersed by militants of the Azov Nationalist Battalion. On March 8th, in an interview with Lenta.ru, and you guys can go directly to that, and translate it, the son of one of the employers of the maternity hospital said that in the last days of February, people in uniform came to the maternity hospital where his mother works. The military dispersed the maternity hospital staff and set up firing points in the building. His words are confirmed by footage published by Ukrainian Telegram channels from inside the maternity hospital after the shelling. Destroyed furniture and broken glass are visible, but there are no bodies of the dead. If there were women and children inside, then the cruel footage would certainly have spread all over the world. The Azov militants set up their firing positions in schools and maternity hospitals, as well as the roofs of these buildings. And then, and I think this is the same. Yeah, this is the same, blah, 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 blah. The roofs of the residential building. This is recorded in the photo and video. And so this is from the ASB military news that was banned on Twitter. Mm-hmm. They said Russia, this is according to, I think, the Russian Ministry of Defense, the nature of damage to the hospital car mislead can mislead the mass audience in Europe and US, for which this performance was made, but not experts. A high explosive aviation ammunition, even of lower power, simply would not have left anything from the outer walls of the building. Photographs of the hospital grounds contain evidence of two separate stage explosions near the hospital, buried underground, and another small power directed to the hospital building. The analysis of the statements of reps of Kiev nationalist regime, photographic materials from the hospital leaves no doubt. The alleged airstrike that took place is a completely orchestrated provocation to maintain anti-Russian excitement among Western audiences. We have repeatedly stated earlier that the medical institutions of Mariupol, including the hospital number 3, stopped their full-time work at the end of February. All staff and patients dispersed by nationalists. The hospital building, due to its favorable location, tactical location close to the city center, was converted into a stronghold of the Azov National Battalion. This is massively reported by the residents of the city, who moved both to the controlled Kiev and areas controlled by the Donetsk People's Republic. This is from the Russian Ministry of Defense. Again, and that is a picture of the hospital. Okay, this is the abandoned building photographed last week of where they were training these fighters to fight the Russians. And that is the same maternity hospital.
Today, it's a maternity hospital, fam, because the narrative helps with the Americans' push to make them to demonize all of Russia.
Right. And so so this next one is Dmitry Polinatsky. That is how fake news is born. We warned in our statement back on March 7th that the hospital had been turned into a military object by radicals. Very disturbing. The UN spreads this information without verification. Okay. And so the same thing that we just talked about, they're kicking the military or the hospital personnel out, that it was turned into this. And this is what they did with the school before. But you will never see any of that on mainstream media and Western media. And if you do see it, they're like, oh, this is Russian propaganda. This is fake. But where are the bodies? Like, they don't have that information.
No. And the thing is that you don't have to, you don't even have to debunk your story. Say if they pulled it down, 54. Say if they pulled it down, right, fam?
Mm-hmm.
It still doesn't make a difference because they got their narrative out there and they know this, knowing that it's a lie. Immediately, once you get that narrative out there, will be repeated. Oh, you hear Russia bomb the hospital. Oh, you hear Russia bomb the hospital. And then even if you take it down, it's already too late because that lie has become the truth in the mainstream media's eyes and stuff, in the people's mind. They just keep on repeating it. Oh, yeah, Putin's a warmonger. Putin's crazy, whatnot. You hear he bombed the hospital the other day, a maternity hospital. I mean, these guys went to fucking babies and incubators. How did that turn out? Everybody knew that was a fake story in Kuwait years ago. And now they went back to it. Even Sleepy Josh was laughing about it the other day. He goes, they went to babies and incubators. Yeah. I think Garland Nixon made a tweet. He goes, Russians are taking Ukrainian babies out of incubators and throwing them on the Kuwaiti floor.
And
because that's how obscene this bullshit is.
And it's, again, reminds me of Syria and the fake chemical attack.
Exactly.
Because this is once again what they're doing. So that you can see in this video, Oz, you can go ahead and play it. In this video, there are weapons in the hospital, why would there be weapons in a hospital unless they're using it?
Доброе утро, нахуй, ебать. Ебать, доброе. Повезло, нахуй, чисто.
So, anyway, so it's just, I could go on and on about how they're just fucking lying. And then this last part right here.
Yeah, I wanted to throw this in. I was trying to find a good place to put this in today's show because I really wanted to talk about it. I said, as a U.S. lawmaker, because let me just say, this happened when I had a disagreement with somebody. I was saying, somebody who was running for office said we need to have more anti-war Congress members in the House and the Senate. And I was like, name me one Democrat that's an anti-war person.
Yeah.
Somebody said Barbara Lee. I said, really? And I put up this video from Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee was known as the person, who voted against the AUMF, right? So people look at her as anti-war, but she hasn't been good on a lot of things. She's been awful. Now listen to this here. As a U.S. lawmaker or citizen, the only position you should have on the Russia-Ukraine at this moment is to hold your own government accountable for its role in 2014, the 2014 coup that overthrew Ukraine's democratically elected government. This is a piss poor take from Representative Barbara Lee, fam. And that's the only position you have. This isn't Russia being aggressive. This isn't Russia acting. This is Russia reacting to what happened in 2014. So as a Western citizen or lawmaker, that is who you hold accountable, not Putin. Okay? Not this virtue signal that I'm against war of all kinds on all sides and stuff. I don't want to fucking hear it.
You can't equate it.
I don't want to hear it. This is a reaction from the initial action on their goddamn border. Barbara Lee, terrible take. Here we go.
We are we are 1 week from the State of the Union. the events can overtake any administration. This administration has led. It has led more aggressively than anyone thought it would. It has gathered, analyzed, and declassified intelligence that has proven to be accurate in just about every instance in terms of what Putin would do. I just, having worked in an administration where 9/11 overtook, I just wonder your thoughts and your reflections. Most of our conversations with you are usually about the domestic agenda, and I know that work continues. But what is it like when the country and the world's attention shifts so completely, so dramatically, and so quickly?
Well, I was at the Munich Security Conference with Speaker Pelosi, Nicole, and first of all, the United States, President Biden, Speaker Pelosi, really have led in helping to unify our European allies against what is seen as, and I believe this is a march against democracy. And what Putin wants to do is to remake and reshape the Soviet Union. So it's not going to stop with Ukraine. You have to remember, no democracy is exempt from what Putin's moves are, not even our own country. When you look at misinformation, when you look at disinformation, when you look at what the Russians have done in our overall domestic voting processes here, come on, we have to really be clear that this is about are we going to stand with the democratic forces of the world, or Putin, who's trying to establish autocracies and reshaping of the Soviet Union. And so we have to talk about this, and our domestic agenda is very closely aligned with our global agenda, because we have to have global peace and security if, in fact, we're going to maintain our democracy here at home, which, of course, we know is very fragile when you look at what has happened over the last few years with voter nullification, with all of the voting rights issues that the states have unfortunately engaged in to try to roll back participation in terms of our democracy. And so what affects the our European allies and the rest of the world really affects us here at home. So this is really about preserving democracy and not allowing Putin to make his moves to establish autocracies and totalitarian governments around the world.
Fam, that's your leading Democrat.
That's
right?
the leading anti-war Democrat.
Anti-war Democrat right over there.
She's
That's
but
it.
a shadow of what she once was. I mean, this is just like Bernie Sanders. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What is this? Who are you? What the hell? Putin is the authoritarian. Do you know how many military bases? She should know. She knows how many military bases we have.
Yep.
Who's trying to spread? Again, here's the comparison of Putin being like Hitler, like trying to spread, create his own Sudetenland. Instead, they say he's trying to recreate the USSR, which is communism, right? And so they're trying to fearmonger once again the Red Scare, of communism, which works really well for the right, because the right is like, well, we can't allow communism to take over. It's like, no, this isn't communism, and they're equating communism with Nazism because they're comparing Putin, the commie, which he isn't. He's more of a nationalist, okay? And they're comparing him with Hitler, and it's just so perfectly and how many times did you have to say democracy?
Yeah, I like the way she kind of planted that seed, like to kind of implement the whole election things to kind of try to draw that line. Like that's a cryptic way of saying, like, you've seen how many of like our voting rights have been suppressed and whatnot. While she's talking about Putin, wants to kind of keep that line about Putin fixing the elections in 2016. It's disgusting. Like you said, she is a smidget of what she once was. And if that is your most anti-war person in Congress, you're fucked. You have a serious psychopathic fucking government.
Vote your way out of this, people. Enough with your fucking bullshit, like electoral politics. You cannot vote this out. Look at that. That's supposed to be a good congressperson.
Yep. I got some super rays I can read right from my phone right now because it's right over here. So let's do that. Great section, fam. Good work. Is the next section Rockfin only?
No, we have one more.
Okay, but guys, eventually get over to Rockfin. We have 141 people there. We had 420, dude. Now we got 426. And guys, that's being suppressed. That's not in the algorithm. That's not Bell. I mean, that's all these people getting unsubscribed. Just think about that. You know what I'm saying? We'd have over 1,300 people watching right now if we never got fucked. But who knows? Maybe even more. But the people who have hung on, the people who've gone through these hurdles, yes, we do love you for making sure that you find us, watch us, share our stuff. You mean so much to us. Thank you so much. Marcus Villa. CCTV footage shows the moment that the Ukrainian Tacha Ukrash in the center of Donetsk, Grim Intel, Slava Telegram.
Okay.
That's awesome. So go check out that
Telegram.
That Telegram. Fee's got a Telegram right now, right, Fee?
Yeah, we all should have multiple things.
I just use mine for communication, but I like what you guys are doing with your Telegrams. Soraya has one. You have one. You can get some until they go after that shit. I mean,
which they will.
Fuck, go is gone. You know what I'm saying? duck, deep state. Say it. Alan Nelson sent you a nice little tip. Thank you so much for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Hope this is enough to cover a half a tank of gas. No, it's not, right. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a world. I was so bummed to see Russia Insight kicked off YouTube, but they are on Rumble. When is the Convo Couch going to be there? We are going to be there sooner than later, right, fam? I mean, we've been talking about Rumble, so we're going to make this happen.
I don't like that they make you pay. I think that's ridiculous. But.
Dave Carlton, thank you so much for the Super Ray contribution. Peace and thanks. We love you. Peace and thanks to you, Dave. We appreciate it, guys. Share the stream. Sandra Molnar, thank you for the Super Ray. Thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. And fam, Aram with a nice one. Thank you, Aram. It is always appreciated on the couch. And OG North American Ape. See if you can read this one right there like that. Really close. Nice.
Russia plays by different rules by spreading misinformation on social media, unlike us. Pay no attention to the TikTokers we're trying to indoctrinate. That's different. Remember, Snopes says there is no U.S. biolabs in Ukraine, but Russia is trying to gain control of these non-existent labs to launch an attack. Yeah, right? How do they contradict themselves? And not only Snopes, but the State Department and Snopes both say it's a lie, which means it's a fucking truth.
This is Russian propaganda.
How you know what's truth. Like, you just have to believe the opposite. I mean, essentially, because they lie. Okay, so one last quick section before we go to Rockfin, only about the new Transformer.
Yes, fam. But here's the thing: we have 145 people following right now, and only 102 thumbs up. We got a troll in the house. Thank you for the troll.
Loves the troll.
I love the trolls.
We need better trolls. Okay, where are we?
Right
okay,
there.
So we've talked about Zelensky. We've talked about his ties to Kolomoisky. But let's talk a little bit about this article. That was a really good article. You should read it. I think it was Kanekoa Substack. And they tie Kolomoisky with Burisma, with Hunter Biden, because this guy's a billionaire oligarch. And he, of course, as you know, he funded Zelensky's campaign. He funded his show. He funded Zelensky. And of course, he was also funding the Azov Battalion, as we went over last week. But let's read a little bit of this. So the real person who was a benefactor to and the boss of Vice President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, at the Ukrainian gas company Burisma Holdings was not the CEO of Burisma Holdings, which was initially thought to be Mykola Zyolchevsky, but it was instead Igor Kolomoisky, who was part of the newly installed Ukrainian government, which the Obama administration itself had actually just installed in Ukraine, in what the head of the private CIA firm Stratfor correctly called the most blatant coup in history. So shortly after the Obama's administration's coup on March 2nd of 2014, Kolomoisky, who supported Yanukovych's overthrow, right, supporting Victoria Nuland, Jeffrey Pyatt, was appointed to be the governor of Dnipropetrovsk, Ukraine.
Close enough.
Hunter Biden, with no experience in the industry or region, would join Kolomoisky's Burisma Holdings 2 months later on May 12, 2014.
Fam, don't you like the way he points out, though, the fact that it's like Obama and you remember seeing Zelensky doing that little speech? Obama, the real president, the only president that matters.
Yep.
It's like, look how it's there. He's connecting the fucking dots here. Go ahead, fam.
And so there was a study in 2012 of the Burisma Holdings done in Ukraine by the Anti-Corruption Action Center, the ANTAC, which is an investigative nonprofit co-funded by American billionaire George Soros and the U.S. State Department. Great people you got there. And they found that the true owner of Burisma Holdings was none other than the billionaire oligarch Igor Kolomoisky. And of course, this was funded to dig up corruption on Viktor Yanukovych, but instead they found that Igor Kolomoisky managed to seize the largest reserves of natural gas in Ukraine.
Want to say this too as well before you continue on. We had this discussion the other day.
Yeah.
They've made it so that you're a stupid right-wing tinfoil nut job if you mention George Soros. Everything is blamed on George Soros. George Soros. I said, I don't give a shit in this situation when it comes to Ukraine. His dirty actions, Soros's real dirty actions, where he gets his nitty gritty, is in Ukraine. Talking about what he did in 2012 and in 2013, starting these independent news conferences that kind of fueled these revolutions and whatnot to overturn the government. He was all a part of it. In fact, he was one of the main players in it right now. So don't be afraid when it comes to Ukraine to say his names. George Soros is a piece of you know what. And he's behind a lot of the stuff here. He's part of the whole circus, fam. They all work together.
Right. And so a lot of people didn't know that Kolomoisky was behind all this, because Burisma Holdings changed owners in 2011, and it was taken over by this offshore Cyprus enterprise called Brook City Investments. And then it moved addresses, and then two Ukrainian companies, these gas companies, which happened to be also owned by Kolomoisky, through the offshore entities in the British Virgin Islands. And of course, they were also in the Pandora Papers. And you can see here, this is a picture of the name of the company. And there's a picture of Igor Kolomoisky. There he is. He controls 3 private gas companies, and they're very, very large gas companies. So he happens to be in control of that. He happened to be participating in Burisma. He happened to have connections to Hunter Biden. He happened to have connections to Zelensky, and also funded the Azov Battalion. All coincidences, nothing to see there. So again, it's the same guy, right? It's the same guy. In other words, Hunter Biden's boss and the benefactor of Burisma Holdings is the same Ukrainian billionaire oligarch who also claimed the position of boss and benefactor over Zelensky before he blamed Ukraine's president. He also owns the 1+1 media group. That's the same media group that pushed Zelensky to fame. And he holds a net worth of 1.8 billion, making him the 1,750th richest person in the world. And he owns holdings in metal, petroleum, and the media sector. And of course, we know about his history with Zelensky. And so this is what I mentioned earlier. If you go back before this conflict, you can look at Newsweek, you can look at The Guardian, you can look at every major mainstream media outlet, how they talked about the white or the band right fascist nationalist problem in Ukraine. Here's an example. Newsweek: groups of right-wing Ukrainian nationalists are committing war crimes in the rebel-held territories of eastern Ukraine, according to a report from Amnesty International. And armed volunteers who refer to themselves as ADAR Battalion have been involved in widespread abuses, including abductions, unlawful detention, ill treatment, theft, extortion, possible executions. The ADAR Battalion is backed by Ukrainian oligarch Igor Kolomoisky, who allegedly funds the Azov, Donbass, DNEPR-1, DNEPR-2 volunteer battalions operating under orders from Kiev. So this is another neo-Nazi battalion, and he also funds them. Reuters: some of Ukrainians' private battalions have blackened the country's international reputation with their extremist views. The Azov Battalion, partially funded by Taruta and Kolomoisky, uses Nazi Wolf's Angel symbol as its logo, and many of its members openly espouse neo-Nazi anti-Semitic views. The battalion members have spoken about bringing the war to Kiev and said that Ukraine needs a strong dictator to come to power who could shed plenty of blood but unite the nation in the process. This is the Azov Battalion. Reuters talking about this. This is, of course, prior to that time. And I think that was it. And then you guys can see.
Oh, this guy is just a hunk.
Our hunk.
Guy.
I mean, what's his name is going to play in
Oh
Germany.
my God.
Germany,
I got to see the video in Ukraine. And
so notice this is a green screen, right? He's behind. He's a green screen, which only the combo couch can have a green screen. He's not allowed to have a. Okay?
How did he get?
And his hair has a fan. Where's my fan? For my hair.
Well, it's cold right now. We took the fan out. We haven't during the summer.
Because I need my hair to be like
we got it in the wind. Okay, and stuff like that.
Let's watch.
By the way, before this gets played, fam, I just want to say that if you do understand the history of Ukraine, it's one of those hot spots. There were Nazis that fought on the German side in World War II, part of Ukraine, that actually gathered up Jews to kill them and execute them in the Ukraine. So they always knew, the United States always knew that this is an area, it's a hot spot, it's very divided, and they can just throw fuel on the fire and just move the pieces they want, the pawns the way they want to get what they want. And that's why we're here today. They got that proxy war with Russia that they wanted to. They're trying to turn it into a next Vietnam. Can they do it? I don't know. But they knew they had the Nazis to twist and whatnot. Even though Zelensky's Jewish, that's a talking point. That means there's no Nazis whatsoever. Bullshit. So let's take a look at Zelensky. Watch his hair, fam says. Watch his hair.
Watch his hair.
We can see our military victories and enemies' losses. We expect that the fight will be over sooner, that the occupants will fail sooner. But it is life. It is war. It is a fight. We still need time. We still need patience, our wisdom, energy and ability to do our job at the highest level to reach the victory together. It is impossible to say how many days we still have to free Ukrainian land, but we can say we will do it because we want it. We have already turned a strategic turning point. We are moving towards our goal, towards our victory. It is a patriotic war, a war against a very stubborn enemy which does not pay attention to thousands of its own killed people, killed soldiers, which collects reservists and conscripts to throw them into the hell of this war. Across our entire territory this spring, as much as any spring, we must make a full-fledged sowing campaign. As much as possible, it depends on people and situations, because it is about life. Life is important. It is about our life, our dreams, our future, and hence our victory.
So, virtue signaling, word salad, the same as
See that,
they
fam?
do here.
He gets a thumbs down, fam. He gets a thumbs down. For
But
that
what about
one.
his hair? Is his hair?
Oh, his thumbs up for the hair. Yeah, come on. That beautiful Jeremy Renner hair over there.
That's his name, Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner is going to play the part of
Yeah.
Zelensky. Like I've said before, you want to talk about real traitors to their own country. That guy right there, who I believe is also a billionaire and has a lot of money, a lot of houses elsewhere, whatnot. He's very well compensated. Everybody knows what's going on there right now. I always shouldn't say everybody knows what's going on, but in the independent media, the people who've been following this for a long time, they know all this shit right here. They know the crap that's going on. We can call bullshit 1, 2, 3. We just got to continue to spread the information out there and wake people up to what's going on. This is some of the most disgusting shit I've ever seen in my life, because at the end of the day, the United States wanted to turn Ukraine into a Vietnam situation. That's bad for the Russians. And it really is. But it's awful, fam. Disgustingly awful for the people of Ukraine and its citizens. All of them.
Yes.
No matter what ethnicity they are, no matter what language they speak, this spells hell for these people. And it's like the little crows we had up there with the United States. And here comes some guy, Ukraine crow. Hey, what's going on? He goes, beautiful. He goes, it's awesome, especially because of that thing over there. And it's the Russian box. He goes, you know what's in there? Corn. Oh, I want some corn. The bird goes over and just blows up. And the British and the French flag crow look at the United States when you're dark, Ron. I don't care. They don't care. They never gave a shit. They treat people like lab rats.
Yeah.
They don't
Dispensable.
care. Disgusting. And that's what the United States did. The West did to the people of Ukraine. And Zelensky was part of it. Molesky was part of it. Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Mitt Romney, all the fucking neocons. McCain went over there. They all should pay a price for what they did to the people of the Ukraine. Lindsey Graham, that bastard, I want to mention him, who should be locked up, thrown out of Congress right now. But yet, they don't fucking even suspend him. They don't take his tweet down. They prop it up, fam.
Yep. That prop up warmongers. That's what the U.S. does best. And now Hitler.
Oh, God.
Okay, so now is the time.
Now
I knew you were
the end is near. The time has come. Fam, come on, join in. 180 people
Leaving
watching.
pasta.
And we
I'm
need over 200. We have 400 of you on YouTube to come join now. And so I'll read these super rays.
Yeah, technically, Oz, you can show them what's coming up next. Technically, we could talk about, the headlines, but if we want to discuss it a little bit in depth, we have to be very careful because it's high time. They're watching for anything to get rid of people. That's the only reason we're going on Rockfin only.
Marcus Villa, thank you so much for the Super Ray contribution. LOL, I'm CEB Applejack 59 on your YouTube chat. You guys are killing it. Telegram has ASB military and Intel Slava Z reporting on the ground in Ukraine. How long till they start going after the Telegram? That's got to be the next thing.
Russia. RT isn't allowed to have Telegram.
They're not, huh?
I mean, the one when I checked, no, they weren't.
They took that. So, I mean, they're going to start going into more stuff. I mean, it's one thing after the other. I don't know where we're going to have to go. We're going to have to go into the woods with the cups with the line thing, you know, with the tin can and start, no, because that's the only way we're going to be able to spread information. We should have been pushing back when they took down Alex Jones, but people cheered it on and gave them permission to do what they needed to do. And that's why we're here. This is why we can't have nice things, Fiorella. The Rebel Ataku, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated. On the couch. How you like that one? That was loud because I know her microphone's loud. Sorry, Oz, if your ears there. Marcus Villa, again, thank you so much. The Svoboda Party, the Right Sector, Azov, C-14, another fucking neo-Nazi one. We talked about him. Ben Rubenstein, Alex Rubenstein did some great work on them. ADAR, 79th Air Assault Brigade, National Corps, Trizub, and many more. Many Nazi groups in Ukraine for quite some time. In World War II, like we said, there were Nazis fighting against the Russians in Ukraine, supporting the Germans. They've been there for a long time. American intelligence knew this was a hot spot, knew this was an area they can kind of reenact and rebirth these fucking Nazis to do what they want, because at the end of the day, they weren't going to get, and this was they showed in a lot of videos in RT, the Ukrainian army didn't want to fire on the people of Donbass. They didn't want to do it. But the radical right fucking neo-Nazis, in a heartbeat. Zelensky, a Jew, doesn't mean he couldn't be aligned with Nazis. Eckhard Melich was a Jew, and he was a general of the Luftwaffe in Nazi Germany. The Luftwaffe. I say it right? Luftwaffe. Fam, how do you say that?
Fam, just.
Thank you, Army in Germany. I know, fam.
Just say it wrong. It's your.
You know what? I'm trying to say it. Okay. Pasta learns how to read. Guys, now is the time. We're going to go over to Rockfin only. So we want you to come over there. We're going to talk about what we just saw over there. You saw, is it over? Tell me it's not over.
I asked, what's the next thing that they're going to have you hate? I mean,
yes,
who knows?
That's a fire tweet tweet. I said, tweet. I said, look at Twee's feet today. And they're like, Twee's, I mean, Fee's tweet. Not Twee's feet. Fee's tweet. Say that 5 times. That was a fire tweet that you put down. They said they had you hating truckers. They had you hated the unvaccinated. They have you hating people of different political ideologies. This week they have you hating Russians. Who are they going to have you hating next? So that you'll be distracted from who your real enemy is. It was a fire tweet, and yeah. But
it's true. Like, what is the next thing, right? Hello.
You know the thing.
You know the thing.
The thing. All right, guys, we're leaving YouTube. Let's get over 200. We're leaving YouTube in 5. We're leaving YouTube in 4. We're leaving YouTube in 3. We're leaving YouTube in 2. We're leaving YouTube in 1.
Bye, YouTube. We love you.